Welcome to MAP, the bi-weekly market access podcast hosted by me, Dr. Stefan Walzer. I am the innovator of Market Access 4.0 and a health economist by training and working in the fields of market access, reimbursement, pricing, and health economics since 2004. Discover Market Access 4.0 and unveil the future with our innovative solutions. Max Insights, our fast and easy AI-based reimbursement planning platform. Dobo, our new revolutionizing way of creating reimbursement dossiers across the globe with the first and only dossier writing AI bot. Cubo, our new AI-based objection handling platform. And Waffle, train with Waffle's virtual reality genius in an immersive environment and with an AI-based counterpart. We are Market Access 4.0. So check out our website, marketaccess4-0.com. And now let's dive into the current discussions, processes, and trends in market access across the globe. So welcome to another episode of the Market Access podcast. Today I'm very honored because I have Oznur Seyhun with me. She is from Market Access Today. So it's, I think, a quite nice kind of combination between the podcast and, if I can say it, the kind of news around market access, and we'll speak and talk today about the trends. But before we start, Oznur, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself as well, that everybody knows, if they don't know yet, what you're doing and where you're basically coming from a professional perspective.
Thank you very much, Stefan. It's great to be here today. And as you mentioned, I am here as Oznur Seyhun, and in the meantime, representing Market Access Today. It's an honor for us to be a guest in your Market Access podcasts. So I have a background in this sector for about 20 years. I've studied pharmaceutical, chemistry, and environmental science, finance and economics, and global management. And throughout these 20 years, I served to the corporate companies, also covering regions, especially for pharmaceuticals, medical devices, nutrition, and cell and gene therapies. Since the beginning of 2024, I'm working as a consultant with Econics team. That's how I joined also Market Access Today. So more or less, this is what we are currently doing, helping to the companies who would like to come to the market within the region. So yeah, this is in a nutshell who I am. And I'm very happy to be here today.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for your intro, and also obviously speaking at least briefly about your, I think, quite broad knowledge and experience. The topic I was thinking about when we first had a conversation, joining maybe also each other about the different kind of concepts we have, was, let's say, major trends we see in probably more around the healthcare market access, because that's where we're both coming from. And the idea was rather, you're speaking with a lot of different companies, individuals, especially also around that market access today kind of component, right, or platform. And that is where I was thinking, are there any trends where you say in 2025, maybe beyond that, what is really going to be happening? Where are people really looking for? And if you need to maybe even differentiate between maybe even regions or the global organizations, and are there maybe even differences between payers and industry? A lot of different individual questions. So just feel free. What are the key trends, what you would anticipate?
I think when it comes to trends, I feel that I need to be saying something about something new that people doesn't know. But when it comes to market access, and especially in a country like Turkey, we don't see things to be evolving so fast. That means as a trend, it's not something new that has been there for a while. So, but we will be still seeing in 2025, or maybe a little more in the upcoming years, that the economic factors, especially the currency fluctuations, the volatility of Turkish lira, which is affecting the drug pricing, particularly for imported medications, will be still there. So the impact of high inflation rates on the cost of pharmaceuticals and the challenges it poses to maintain stable drug prices will still be trendy in 2025 or a little bit more. But when it comes to the HTA perspective, I can say that we are seeing a little bit trends and something coming new as the MCDA, which is a multi-criteria decision analysis that is very much used, especially in Europe, in France. So this is coming to the reimbursement submissions as a trend next to the cost effectiveness and budget impact models that we are already submitting to the government when we're seeking for reimbursement, meaning that this is in 2023, the government has published a new legislation just giving the understanding of the multi-criteria decision analysis is going to be part of the submissions. So this is the trend that we are seeing currently in the country and also with the companies that are coming to be starting these analyses and also having with the stakeholders engagement to be increasing the awareness for this new methodology as an HTA, which has never been in Turkey before. So when it comes to clinical area, Turkey is a good hub for clinical trials. And we are now seeing the real world evidence and real world data generation. Still, there are lots of problems in terms of data collection and also when you are doing the retrospective studies, but still we are seeing a trend when also it comes with the digital health solutions. They're also very much helping to be generating the outcomes based on real world evidence. So the market dynamics are almost the same. So there is no huge trend we're expecting, but still we do see the pricing pressure on locally produced products versus imported ones, considering the factors such as production costs, tariffs, and international trade agreements. And beside that, we are, as Econics, we have been doing some analysis within the market and seeing that the out-of-pocket expenses and out-of-pocket payments tendency from the patient's perspective is really rising, meaning the burden of out-of-pocket expenses on patients and potential disparities on drug accessibility is rising. So in the meantime, we are seeing the companies are seeking some alternative ways of accessing the market, which is beside the government national reimbursement that we call it private sector growth, meaning expansions of private insurance coverages, creating new market opportunities. That's why the companies like to understand what are the options, what are the new ways of accessing to the patient sometime next to the national reimbursement when there is no reimbursement approval yet. And I think we are, from the drug pricing perspective, always a benchmarking country to the other countries because we have a reference pricing system and very much drug pricing policies and drug price pressure. So that is also causing Turkey to be benchmarked by the other countries too, which is, I think, is going to be the trend again in the upcoming years. Mm-hmm. And digital health and telemedicine is also in the rising trend as HK has approved the Social Security Institution, which is the payer body for Turkey, has approved a new legislation in this year to reimburse the remote physician visits, which was not expected to be published this year, but is there. So in the meantime, there's also bringing to the new digital transformation with telemedicine. And we are seeing patient support programs and the nursing programs being widely used, especially for the therapies like biologics, where the patients need to be under control, where they are administered by the product. And so I think next to it, we can say the patient councils, especially patient disease associations, they are evolving to play a crucial role in shaping a more patient-centered and integrated healthcare landscape. And this is the trend to patient-centric care is gaining more momentum in the country. And I think we need to also mention that the corporate companies are making organizational changes, which is at the end of the day impacting the companies like us, like all the consultancy companies that the healthcare sector is continuously seeing significant workforce challenges and including rising labor costs. Mm-hmm. That's why we are seeing their health systems and focusing on exploring outsourcing and offshoring for non-clinical functions to manage their costs. This is, I think, so far what we've been seeing since the COVID, like post-pandemic, and I think we're going to be seeing in the upcoming years too. This is in a nutshell what I can just say. Hopefully, I didn't make it like so long.
No. I mean, there are a lot of interesting, let's say, pieces you included there. And maybe, I mean, because not everybody is fully aware, let's say, how the market access process works in Turkey, maybe you can just very quickly and briefly again introduce the system. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things like MCDA, mainly like in France, might be introduced as kind of trend, right? Cost effectiveness is needed. I mean, maybe it's also a bit of a question to me, besides, let's say, just the general kind of process, are there any kind of regional differences? I mean, is it rather regionalized as we know it, for example, from Italy and Spain? Or is it rather more national process like in France and in Germany?
It is more national. So it's just like there's only one body, which is Minister of Health, approving the licensing part. And also they are approving the first pricing, which is the list pricing. And they are responsible for the reference price checks and follow-ups. And we have the payer body, which is Social Security Institution, which is a national body, given the decision for a product to be reimbursed or not for the whole nation. We don't have any differences in the regions. So when you are asking for reimbursement for your product, you need to be proving your value with the cost effectiveness data and also budget impact modeling next to all clinical data. You have to prove that you are actually a part of the unmet need, or maybe generic coming to the market as a Me Too product. So these are the basics. But where we are stuck is especially the inflation rates, which is government is using a unique inflation, the currency calculation to make a currency change in between Turkish lira and the euros. So that is a huge burden for the international companies' imported products to be on the market. So from that perspective, where we need MCDA kind of tools is to be helping the government to understand the value from these different perspectives, meaning we have the cost effectiveness and the budget impact modeling to be submitted, but not always that's the only decision criteria for the government to approve that you're going to be on the reimbursement list. So that's why the companies and also the government is looking for some other tools which will be helpful to prove that the product is bringing in another value to the society from the clinical and financial perspective. That's why MCDA is being introduced to the authority and the stakeholders mainly like 3 or 4 years ago, but the legislation has been placed last year.
Okay, interesting. I mean, you brought up again two, I think, interesting and important things here. I think one is the impact. I would rather say from patients. I think you named it before, patient-centric or centricity. I think that's one thing. And the other part was probably more around as well the kind of process. But the other part is obviously linked all to pricing, right? I mean, you have the kind of issue with the inflation. I mean, huge inflation still, which is obviously having an issue on the imported products. At the same time, obviously, you could as well think, if we have an issue with importation, Turkey is a big country, right? Maybe there are increased kind of production within Turkey, but obviously, inflation also means a kind of pressure on labor cost, meaning it's a real big challenge. So how has Turkey, let's say, managed that in the last, 2-3 years? And what are the expectations for the near future?
I think this answer of the question has two sides, as we all do, from the payer side and also from the manufacturer side. From the payer side, they are very much okay with what they are being doing within the pressure of the pricing. And in the meantime, there are a lot of incentives for the generics and also local manufacturers. So that means even though you are an importing company and outsider manufacturer, the government is asking you to be part of some third-party companies, local manufacturers, to be manufacturing your products also in the country. So there are some companies who could be able to achieve that depending on many criteria, including the quality, including the registration, and also economical reasons. And also there are companies who are really successful in terms of manufacturing their products also in Turkey. So this is one way of the government has been able to manage the costs. So the manufacturing to be done in-house is also bringing a lot of incentives to the international companies. So this is how they could be able to achieve to be controlling the budget for healthcare. But when it comes to the corporate companies, multinationals, who are the ones who want to bring their technology here, then they are having a lot of problems with the price pressure, and there's no purchasing guarantee, and also they need to be at least having their local hub here, which is starting from scratch. In the last 10 or 15 years, all these local manufacturing needs has started with secondary packaging, and then it just turned out to be batch release places. So then it turned out to be totally being manufactured locally here. So this is a lot of processes bringing to the companies, and they're not always seeing that this is profitable to be managing this business, and that may be therapeutic area in the country, because there is a generic also there and also local manufacturers. So the competition is high. So from the manufacturer's perspective, it's really difficult to manage that. But from the government perspective, I think they are doing a good job so far.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I am. Yeah, no, I think that is obviously very, very challenging. I want to come back again to the patient kind of impact. I mean, you said that I think patient centricity might be maybe getting more into the kind of center also of decision making, as you just explained, MCDA, and with also trying to get the value, meaning also patient value into the process. How does that really look like in real life? I mean, we know, for example, in some countries, like, in Germany, you have a patient representative basically at the table of the decision-making body, but they have no voting rights. In some other markets, I mean, they have even voting rights. In some other areas, jurisdictions, maybe it's just taken into consideration, right? But without a kind of real, I would say, not a real impact. But we see a lot. I think I've spoken as well with somebody out of Brazil, where he also said, I think the patient impact is seen to be more impactful nowadays. But it's still, I mean, how can I really foresee, or how could I really touch and feel that? I mean, what is the process around it?
I think this has just been increasing everywhere because of the power of the social media. So, if the therapy is somewhere available somewhere globally, and if those patients cannot access to the therapies, so they do really make a lot of noise from using the social media. So where in the meantime, the patient associations are helping for their voice to be heard. So that's why I think we are seeing the patient part and patient piece raising as a trend. When it comes to the patient support programs, I think, again, here the patients are in the center, meaning it's just another tool that now we are seeing the companies are using. And in the meantime, the government is also asking for. So these support programs are free of charge, provided by the companies. This can either be a nursing program or maybe a digital tool to help the patient to follow up with their therapy and increase their adherency. And this is also clinically is helping to the patient to be on the therapy and get better outcomes. So that's how we do see actually the patients and being the solutions, taking the patients in this center. And when you are a company and you have capacity to be bringing a nursing program for your patients using a third-party company, so then you don't have the right to touch the patients because it's against the rules and regulations here. So then you can outsource that service and use a third-party company to be helping your patients with their therapies, because sometimes the chronic illnesses and diseases, they require an extra service for the patients for their well-being. So this is one aspect. But then it comes to the therapy that's not currently available in the market, or maybe it's super expensive. It doesn't have the capacity paying the whole therapy for about 15 months. Then we do see a lot of noise associations and also the social media. So this is also another part. And at the end of the day, we are seeing some court cases. The court cases are depending on the situation and the file itself, it's just having a positive outcome on the favor of the patient side. And it's just also triggering the rest of the reimbursement decisions taking by the government faster. So this is what we've been seeing so far for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just has been increased for the last 2 years. And as a trend, we are expecting it to be coming up for the next minimum 5 or 10 years more, because we do see digital transformation. We do see companies trying to build up nursing programs. And we also do see companies are also integrating their outsourcing and their external engagement with patient associations. And also they would like to help patients to find their way, or maybe they run like patient advisory groups, like we do with the key opinion leaders, to understand their path, to understand what is the biggest challenges when they are trying to reach out to the therapy. So these are basically the projects that we are running now with our customers. So that's why I can clearly say that this is a trend coming up for Turkish market access in the next few years.
Got you. Very interesting one. Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of, let's say, a lot of news and probably also new applications and probably even some kind of innovation to be expected, especially in that area.
True.
Another, I don't know whether it's a trend, but at least a kind of area, what you mentioned beforehand, also around the kind of increases in out-of-pocket expenses for individuals, for patients, but also maybe around the kind of issues of maybe acceptability to pay or ability to pay then as a system, right? For a lot of the new kind of drugs we also see in other markets is the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
I know from some countries, including Germany, and that's probably more from the medtech kind of area, when and if new innovations are not directly available in the public sector, there is a lot of pressure out of the private sector as well, especially if it's only available there. Is that as well another kind of trend? Would you see, for example, in Turkey, besides obviously the kind of social media impact, what you mentioned before, from a patient perspective, is there another trend that if something is available on the private market, that the public market base needs to adapt? Or is it rather the other way around, that basically the public system base says, look, I mean, it's available. If you need it, maybe take and get another insurance?
I think it's totally a mix. What we generally see, because there's the period of time that you need to be following up for your licensing is quite long. Mm-hmm. And so you have also a Q4 GMP auditing that has to be done by the government to get your license. And let's assume that you get your license, but there's a period of time for you to wait for the reimbursement discussions and maybe to get the approval. So because of this period of time is really long-lasting, the companies would like to somehow find some ways for early access. So, and the early access in the meantime will bring some real-world data. They will be also generating real-world data to be used to be convincing the maybe other markets or maybe the same market like Turkey. So it's just like a win-win situation. So sometimes if the product is not super expensive, they would like to be on the market and would like to the patients start using it if they can afford. So if you do not give it to the private market, you are also missing the opportunity for the experience that you're going to be gaining with the patients who will be affording with their out-of-pocket payments. So I think this is a kind of like shift that we are now seeing. In the previous years, that was a really rare that the products coming to the market without reimbursement. That was like not even out of scope, no discussion, no brainer. But now we are seeing if the government is reluctant to be reimbursing the product in a period of time, then they are coming to the market. So this also helps to generate some noise from the patient perspective. The patients who can afford to buy it from the private sector can also be leveraged to the ones who cannot afford it. So the ones who cannot afford it also making some public noise, saying that because of we cannot afford it doesn't mean that I cannot reach out to that therapy. So this is how it works. But from the private sector, it's also as the processes are really long and difficult. Sometimes at the end of the day, the reimbursement price that you get approval is not, the companies are not happy with it, mm-hmm. with the result. So as this is the situation, they would like to be concurrently finding out their way. If also the private sector and private insurance companies would be willing to pay the therapy in different settings, because they also have their own premiums beside the government's premiums. So that's the way they are trying to find some alternative paths to be able to reach out to the patients. And again, who are in the small scope of private insurance companies. Most of them are employees, which are their premiums are paid by their employers. And in the meantime, this population is not so big when it's compared to the rest of the population. But still, there is a hub and potential there. That's why we do see companies trying to find their ways also with the private health insurance brokerages and also reinsurance companies, and next to national reimbursement or maybe out-of-pocket payments.
Got you. So yeah, it's another, let's say, interesting kind of move, and it shows basically a lot how Vivek, basically the whole kind of market is not only in Turkey, but across, obviously. But here we have a lot of good examples where, let's say, different stakeholders try to find a way in order to get, access to the medications, right? I mean, because as you said, it was just a sub-node, right? It's not so much the medical value a lot of times, right? But it's the kind of in comparison to the price. And then, I mean, if you have as well the reference price system, the inflation issue, the currency, kind of issue, it's all getting in there somehow. And for sure, that is maybe then getting as well into bigger decision-making issues, which again opens up, but then the floor maybe to other kind of opportunities.
It's absolutely, that's exactly what it is currently we're having now. So just as market access has a lot of pieces, as you know better than me. So it's just a matter of trying to bring all the value all together, all stakeholders, because it's just not only us or not only the manufacturers, it's just like a big community and ecosystem that we need to be taking into consideration. So sometimes because of the therapy, sometimes because of the indication, we need to be just finding our ways in different paths.
No, absolutely. No, fully agree. Perfect. We are moving a bit towards the end of our discussion, but I think what would be maybe interesting, not only for me, but probably also for listeners from other areas of the world. Why should a company launch a product in Turkey? So what, if somebody is approaching you, what would be maybe your 2 or 3 key points to make, just to say, look, I mean, whenever, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a first or fifth or whatever kind of launch country, but what is the key thing what you would say, look, this is why Turkey is important?
I think just, even though we have said that there's like price pressure and also the inflation rates and volatility of the Turkish lira, but still the population is 80 million and the government has full coverage. So, and especially for the chronic diseases like oncology and immunotherapy, everything is accessible. So you have the chance and choice to go to the government hospitals. You have also the choice to go to the private hospital in that setting, not only for pharmaceuticals, but also the medical devices. And I think from that perspective, if you are also within the system, the reimbursement decision is given forever. So that means that you are there. I think we need to have like a parenthesis here saying that if you are under alternative reimbursement scheme, that means that your agreement with the government has conditional and has a period, something around like 3 years. But there is the confidential pricing and confidential rate. It's also kind of like giving you purchasing guarantee. So these are the used methods and ways, and could be good reasons for you to be in this market if you know how to negotiate with the government. And in the meantime, if you're also really believing in your therapy from the clinical perspective. And let's assume that you are already on the market and it's just generating a lot of data for you. And you can definitely clearly run clinical trials and run real world evidence. And when the decision is there, that means that you will be only impacted with the reimbursement, with the reference prices. Other than that, you will be in the system forever for the reimbursement. I think these are really very good opportunities for you to be, as a company, to be taking into consideration. And in most cases, it is the prevalences and incidences for some illnesses are really high. That means that the patient pool is there. It's going to be somehow the therapy will be there, and we do see the companies, they are not only coming to country only for one product. So that's not the case. So if you are here and the government knows you know the government, you may be having incentives for local manufacturing or local collaborations. That's also really helpful. And most probably you're going to be bringing your new therapies too. So that's why I think it's going to be also attractive for the companies to come to Turkey.
Perfect. Very good. So, Oznur, that was very interesting, very insightful. I mean, it shows a lot of different, let's say, insights and changes probably as well, adaptations probably within the system and market in Turkey. That was really great. I think you made as well quite nice linkages to, let's say, pieces what a lot of listeners know, like cost effectiveness, like MCDA from France. Some are knowing rather, let's say, the private sector a bit more, also happening a lot in other markets. And quite some listeners as well know the kind of big inflation issue on top, right? So it's everything in there somehow, but we all need and find ways how to survive, and also the companies, the product owners, etc. Also the government, because it's all sides of it, right? Find a way how to still make access to the important kind of products. Thanks a lot for your time, Oznur.
You too. So it was really very great for us to be here, and we are waiting for you to come to Market Access Today video series, and we will be very happy to host you there too. Thank you very much, Stefan.
Absolutely. We'll be there, Oznur. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a lot of interesting insights when speaking and thinking about Turkey, and especially when thinking about the kind of current issues not only Turkey, but a lot of different countries have, mainly inflation. I mean, inflation has an impact on labor costs. It has an impact, obviously, also, and especially in the healthcare area, when we speak about imported drugs. Nonetheless, I think, and especially around the Turkish healthcare market, there have been now a couple of adaptations, or maybe even some kind of new pathways. One is what is now mentioned as the MCDA, which has been not really directly adapted from France, but it was also said that it might be similarly used like currently in France, where just the patient centricity might be taken a bit more into considerations. A couple of further things have also been seen in terms of a trend that the digital health kind of area have also been approved a bit earlier, meaning the telemedicine has been approved. And especially what was more interesting from my perspective is the private sector increase. We know that from other markets, from other similarly kind of minded markets like Turkey, that especially when the out-of-pocket market increases, that suddenly there might as well be some further insurance coverage, private insurance coverage available, like it is now happening in Turkey. I mean, how the whole kind of, let's say, system might evolve further, especially when we speak about the inflation, the impact on the currency, especially when we're speaking about new innovative products manufactured outside of Turkey, needs to be seen. But currently, we see at least that there might be some kind of pathways, and that there might be still the kind of general and normal pathway like health technology assessment, including cost effectiveness, now maybe as well coupled with MCDA, but ultimately all parties, all stakeholders need to agree on a price. That was an episode of MAP, the Market Access podcast provided by Mars Market Access and Pricing Strategy, which is your healthcare consultancy in the German-speaking markets. MAP is available every second week with a new episode, so watch out. And in case you might have questions, contact me directly and or visit our website on www.marketaccess-pricingstrategy.de.